Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy, Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 261, The Benefits of Slowing Down Your Weight Loss, with my friend Monica Reinagel. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're like, it's Friday, Adam. Where is the reboot coaching session? I'm used to that. What's happening? So in August, on Fridays, I'm going to release some bonus interviews that I've done. I've been able to talk to so many amazing people like Monica, and I need to make sure that I am getting those episodes released in a timely fashion. So during August, you're going to get some Friday interview episodes. I hope you enjoy that, and we'll be back to regular programming in September. So also, real quick, in September and October, I've got 2 live workshops going on. Huntington Beach, California. Attention, folks of California. September 21st, I will be in Huntington Beach doing a half-day workshop with my friends JJ Flazanes, Rob Dion, and Allison Melody. So come check us out there, millionpoundmission.com. I'm also putting together an October 19th event at my world headquarters in Bloomington, Indiana. It's going to be amazing, a full-day event. We're going to really blow it out for that one, and you get to be at the home base of the Million Pound Mission. That's October 19th. Again, millionpoundmission.com to get all the details and get tickets to either live workshop. Now, with this episode, we're going to focus on a concept that a lot of people aren't super psyched about. They're like, I want to lose weight faster. But we're going to talk about slowing things down. So do you guys ever feel like the person that puts the most pressure on you about getting healthy is actually you? So with this episode, I'm going to bring in my friend Monica to help create a mindset shift that's going to allow you to take some pressure off of yourself and get better results. Now, Monica is a licensed nutritionist with a master's of science in human nutrition. She also went to culinary school, and these days she spends most of her time writing and speaking about food and nutrition and helping people create healthier lives. Now, she also hosts a podcast, of course, another podcasting friend. She hosts the Nutrition Diva podcast. She blogs for the Huffington Post and Scientific American, and she's a regular guest on shows like The Today Show, Dr. Oz, and NPR's Morning Edition. Now, in this episode, Monica and I discuss how she became known as the Nutrition Diva. We talk about her favorite nutrition myth to bust. We talk about her amazing Nutrition GPA app. This really blew me away. I think it's super, super amazing. So you guys need to check that out for sure. And we talk about the mindset shift between losing weight and weighing less. It is a game changer mindset shift indeed. So I think you're going to love this episode. Without further delay, let's dive into episode 261, The Benefits of Slowing Down Your Weight Loss with Monica Reinagel. All right, Monica, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are we doing today, my friend?
It is great to be here with you, Adam.
Well, we were introduced by a mutual friend, Brock Armstrong, best name ever. I mean, do you agree that he has the best name ever? Let's just get that off our chest to start with.
He could not have invented a better stage name for himself. All the credit for that goes to his mom, Beverly. So well done, Bev.
Well done, Beverly. So enough about Brock. Let's talk about you, Monica. So you have a super interesting story, and I want to kick it off with you telling us about your transition from being an opera singer into transforming into someone known as the Nutrition Diva. How exactly did that happen?
Well, it wasn't an overnight sort of thing, but I originally went to school to study music and worked as a professional opera singer for about 10 years. But like many opera singers, was kind of having trouble making ends meet. That's a tough business. And I finally got to the point where I wanted to consider other career paths that would be a little bit more sustainable for me. And at the time, I had sort of a temp job working for a publishing company doing research for one of their health publications. And I discovered I was really not only interested in that topic, but I turned out to be kind of good at it. And I started to explore that as a career path. And to make a long story short, eventually went back to school, earned a master's degree in nutrition, got a license, and now this is the way I spend about 90% of my time as the Nutrition Diva and still 10% of my time as the Opera Diva, but it's.
And I love the name, the Nutrition Diva. And you bring some knowledge with that title. And I like just how well-versed you are in nutrition. You've got a 10-year running podcast which is amazing. And like just putting out content for that long is like, I think that's one of the podcasters' biggest fears. Like, I'm going to run out of stuff to say. But you're so passionate about it, and you bring a lot of that passion and you connect that to your audience. So I love that. Now, I want to hit you up and ask you what your favorite nutrition myth right now is to bust. So if there's one that you just like to be like, no, 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 this is all wrong. We've got it all wrong. What would that be?
Oh gosh, there are so many, and myths are definitely something that I spend a lot of time on because I feel like we waste a lot of energy and on these sorts of myths. And so I certainly have a long list of them, but maybe the one that sort of all the rest fit into is this idea that there's one right way to nourish our bodies, that there's going to be one solution, whether it's paleo or keto or Mediterranean or whatever it is, that everybody needs to do. And I think in my career, I've seen that there are a lot, and working with individuals and large groups, there are a lot of ways to put together a healthy diet. And so the real key is not to back the right horse. The real key is to find the horse that you feel comfortable on, that fits your body, that fits your lifestyle, that you can sustain long term, because really that's the name of the game. But these sort of diet wars back and forth between, no, this is the way. I get frustrated with that. The human body is such an amazingly resilient creation. It's amazing how well we can do with a really wide variety of dietary approaches. But of course, there are some common themes that we can all agree on, and that can be the foundation for that larger conversation.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, Monica. I have flirted with the idea of almost doing like a Nutrition United Nations episode of inviting people that team vegan, team keto, team paleo, team Weight Watchers, and just trying to find that common ground. Because I feel like you see people that get healthy doing all these things. And like you said, like let's maybe discover a few connectors of, okay, everybody is looking at fresh food and whole food and lower sugar and lower stress and water and movement. Like that's the foundation that we build upon to have success with our health and our health momentum. So I've talked about this on the show before. So a lot of people are going, yes, she's speaking Adam's language here with this whole diet war thing. Now, along those lines of just foundational concepts, like you've been in the game helping people for an extended period of time, like you really are in the trenches. So what would you say are those foundational things? Like if we're going to get healthy and we're going to rewire our nutrition, what are the focus points that kind of will bridge across different, paradigms of nutrition?
Well, this was a question that I spent a lot of time thinking about because I realized that people who are trying to eat healthy quickly get overwhelmed by all the different things that they're supposed to be paying attention to, the rules and every week we have 5 new superfoods that must be included in the diet, plus 5 new toxins that must be avoided. And it's not just about eating the right foods and avoiding the wrong ones. You've also got to eat every 3 hours, but also have a 16-hour fasting window and eat 1 hour of getting up, but not closer to 2 hours of going to bed. And I mean, you just can't worry about, most of us have other jobs, right? I mean, I'm lucky. This is my job, but most people have to go to a different job every day, and they need to make that a little simpler. A few years ago, I was going to speak at a conference for people who were looking to institute some healthy habits into their life that they could sustain. And I was really thinking about how I wanted to focus their attention. I had, 30 minutes to work with these people. What did I want them to take away? And I thought, well, what if I could come up with a very short little assessment that you could do at the end of every day to just give you a top line view of, how did I do today? How did this stack up? And this actually turned out to be a really fun little exercise. I ended up coming up with 10 yes or no questions that you could ask yourself at the end of every day. And we ended up rolling this into a little app that you can use on your phone that just asks you these 10 questions. 5 positive questions, things that we want to make sure that we're including in our diet on a regular basis. And these are, like you said, the uncontroversial things I think we can all get behind. More vegetables, some probiotic foods, some healthy fats, nuts, avocados, those kinds of things. And then 5 things that we want to make sure that we're not overdoing. So this wasn't a zero tolerance kind of thing, but what are 5 things that we want to watch out for? Not too much added sugar, processed meats, excessive alcohol. And if you could just nail those 10 things, or even 8 out of those 10 things every day, you could feel pretty solid that you are, you know, including enough healthy things in your diet to cover your nutritional bases and not overdoing it with those little treats that we like to enjoy to the extent that it's going to be dragging you down. So now, 4 years later, I'm still using this little quiz with a lot of my coaching programs. And I think the thing that people like about it is that they can keep 10 things in mind.
Yeah.
It's just not that much to focus on, and then feel confident that that's adding up over time to a solid basis. And then, we can debate the finer points, but, let's start with the big things.
Yeah. And like you said, we're all focused on these hacks and stacking. It's like hack stacking. Maybe maybe I just invented a podcast episode.
There's your next book.
Hack
Right.
stacking. And it's like, okay, I've got to wear these special glasses. And then I have to, do this special CBD oil behind my ears every night. And now I've got to do this and that and that. And we put all this pressure on ourselves to do all these things. And none of them are really at the core of what we need to be focusing on. It's distraction. It's hack distraction from, okay, did I drink water today? Okay, did I move my body today? Did I meditate? Did I de-stress? And so with your app, are you able to track like any feedback from this? What kind of data or what kind of realizations have you had from having people fill out this app with this checklist each day?
The two things that people report that have the biggest effect and the most long-lasting effect is they end up eating more vegetables, which makes me very, very happy. And they end up reducing their added sugar, not to zero. This isn't one of those, zero sugar 30-day challenges. I'd much rather have somebody cut their added sugar by a third for an ongoing basis than cut it to zero for 30 days and then just kind of go back to what they were doing before. So those are the two big things that people notice. But what this little app does, it's called the Nutrition GPA. If people want to check it out and get a little check on their diet. But when you answer your 10 questions, you get a grade for the day. It's just like being in school. You might get a C plus or B minus, A plus, whatever it is. But then over time, it averages your daily grade to give you a nutrition grade point average.
That's cool.
And this is the thing I think that really matters, because we tend to focus and remember our best day and our worst day and not have a real good grasp of what our typical day looks like or what our choices are really adding up to over time. So I try to get people not to worry too much about their grade on any one day, although, you might see some things you might want to do differently if you want to bring your grade up a little bit, but to really look and see what that nutrition GPA is over time so that your habits are stacking up. Oh,
yeah.
Your term. Yeah, over time in a way that are supporting your health, instead of getting all focused on some little 3-day cleanse or boot camp and then kind of reverting back to your previous habits.
Yeah, we're habit stacking instead of hack stacking. And I like that a whole lot better. So with the assessment, can you give us like a behind the scenes look of like how the questions are being asked and like what those questions look like, how they fill it out? Because I feel like this is something that, most of us grade ourselves on pass fail basis. So this is like revolutionary where you get the grade point average of, okay, what's the trend here? I feel like that's so much more helpful as far as information goes. So let's talk about how the questions look and how people fill it out, because I feel like that's going to be pretty interesting to chat about.
Sure. So like I said, it's yes or no questions. So you don't have to, count and measure and weigh and look things up. It's pretty easy. Did you have 5 servings of vegetables today? Did you have, a serving of legumes today? Did you have more than one alcoholic drink today? So it doesn't take very long. You get a certain number of points just for rolling out of bed in the morning. And then for each of your good habits, you add points to your score. Each of your 5. And for each of those things that we don't want to overindulge in, you subtract points from your score. And that's how we calculate the score. It's very transparent. It's very obvious, how your score is being graded. And then, we do the GPA, and we show people. I have people that have been using this for a couple of years now. And so their grade on any one day is going to have a very minimal impact on their 2-year nutrition GPA, their lifetime GPA. So we also show you some shorter windows so you can see, well, what's the trend been just for the last 7 days? What's the trend been for the last 30 days? But my recommendation for people, when I do coaching around this tool, I always get the overachievers who like nothing less than an A plus every day is acceptable. And I feel like more power to them. I can't live that way. And
Yeah.
so my goal for people is to have a 30-day nutrition GPA in the B range. So your diet doesn't have to be perfect in order to be healthy. And even more important, like one bad day doesn't need to throw you completely off the wagon. Every once in a while, I'll get an F, you know, and I know.
Oh man.
And I think sometimes we have this all or nothing kind of black and white attitude where we get into a program, we commit, we're 100% on board, and then we fall off the wagon one day, and then we figure like, well, I ruined it. There's no point in continuing. And this is really trying to show you that one bad day doesn't drag down your entire GPA. That you have another chance the next day, and let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good here.
I love that. I talk a lot about I like to name things, Monica. So one of the names of the situation I see pop up is called transformation light switch syndrome, where people are all the way on or all the way off. They do a boot camp program, light switch on. As soon as the boot camp is done, light switch off. I go back to doing what I was doing before. And I feel like this is a tool that can really help to cure that syndrome, where if you're seeing things as an average, like you said, again, it's not pass fail. Oh, I had a bad day, but my average is still boom here. And then the longer that you do this, the less one bad day is seen as impacting that overall score. So I absolutely love it. And I feel like having that extended mindset of chipping away each day versus I've got to lose, I'm 100 pounds overweight. I've got to lose it all, and I've got to lose it all now. I'm going to put all kinds of pressure on myself if I don't get there, because my friend Joe, he lost 100 pounds in 6 months. So if I don't do it, then something is obviously wrong. And this is like, I know you hear these people that are saying these sorts of things and the conversations that are going in our heads. So let's talk about how we can use this long-term thinking, this tool with this app, but also just about taking some pressure off the journey a little bit and talking about like, okay, let's just focus on getting healthy and moving towards health versus a deadline to lose weight. I feel like that's a tripping point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think we spend a lot, too much energy focusing on, how to lose weight. And a lot of people have had a lot of experience losing weight, but as we have a horrible kind of recidivism rate. People will lose that 50 pounds or 30 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever it is. And then once they cross the finish line, they declare success, and they have the best of intentions. And usually every plan has some sort of nominal maintenance phase or strategy, but those are usually sort of underthought, and people tend not to pay attention to them. It's like, I achieved my goal, mission accomplished, on with it. Now my life begins because now I have achieved my goal weight. But 9 times out of 10, people will slowly begin to regain that weight. And then sooner or later, they find themselves right back where they started. You mentioned Brock at the top of our conversation today. 2.5 years ago, Brock and I, Brock is a fitness professional. I'm a nutrition professional. We had this, and we work together as part of the Quick and Dirty Tips podcasting network. He does the Get Fit Guy podcast, and I do the Nutrition Diva podcast. And so we're sort of working on the same problem from different ends.
Yep.
And we're talking all the time about this frustration, about this all or nothing, all in or all off, and the people taking drastic measures to lose weight by whatever means necessary, and then inevitably rebounding. And we finally just kind of planted a flag in the sand and said, okay, we need to offer some sort of alternative. And so we put our heads together. We came up with an approach that we now offer. And the sort of tagline for this whole thing is that diets teach you how to lose weight. We're going to teach you how to weigh less, because that is an entirely different challenge. And, we need to, the losing weight will take care of itself. If you can figure out how to live your life as someone who weighs less, your weight will catch up with you. And, more importantly, you will then know how to go forward into your life instead of getting to the end of an intervention that has nothing to do with how you're going to live moving forward. So we kind of start with maintenance and,
Yeah.
and let the weight loss catch up to us as we continue to live as people who weigh less. That actually comes to pass.
So you start with a maintenance focus, and yeah, obviously you probably get some foundational things going there. But how do you get people to flip that switch? That like the typical person that loves to get that dopamine hit of weighing themselves on the scale every day, and then ooh, the scale went down. I'm a good boy. I'm a good girl, and and getting that kind of self affirmation. So how do you get people to break that mental hit that we get from the scale and from losing weight?
That's a great question. We do a lot of deprogramming. That takes a long time to kind of wean people out of what we call the dieter's mindset, which is very deeply entrenched in most of us, just from having lived in our society and lived in our culture. We do actually something a little bit obvious, or I'm sorry, a little bit similar to the Nutrition GPA approach, where we have another little app that we developed for this program where you log your weight every day, but as soon as you log it, the number disappears.
Nice.
And all you see is a trend. I'm trending up, I'm trending down, I'm staying the same, because we really feel like where you are right now doesn't matter nearly as much as which way you're heading. And I think people can sometimes get defeated if they're focused on the distance between where they are and where they feel like they need to be. Because of course, in our minds, that's where our life actually starts, right? Off there in the distance when we achieve this number. We really feel like, no, life starts today, and our life as people who weigh less can start today. Yes, we're going to be looking to move towards these healthier metrics, but we're really not interested in even the speed at with which that's happening. Really, just are we moving in the right direction? In fact, we take a lot of steps to try to slow people down. And I know this it is completely countercultural. We try to have people losing weight as slowly as possible. And there's some really specific physiological and psychological reasons for this. And I can tell you, it does take a lot of retraining and a lot of deprogramming to get people into this mindset, but the payoff is huge.
Hey, this is just a really quick break in the action to remind you that I've got 2 live Million Pound Mission workshops coming up. I'm going to be doing a half-day workshop in Huntington Beach, California on September the 21st, and I'm putting on a full-day workshop at my fitness studio, the world headquarters in lovely Bloomington, Indiana on October 19th. You can head on over to millionpoundmission.com to get all the details. You can see our amazing speaker lineup for both events, and you can grab that ticket before we get sold out. Now, back to the episode. So, okay, we have to dive a little bit deeper on this because, like you said, this is a huge deal. Like my podcast is called The Million Pound Mission, and I'm trying to use that to inspire people to get healthier, but sometimes that's misconstrued to let's lose weight as fast as possible. I'm big. Like it took me 5 years to lose 100 pounds, and a lot of people are like, wow, that's a long time. But that was the right time for me. Like I did this as, like you said, as more. I viewed my transformation like I had to chop down a giant tree. And the only thing that mattered to me is that I showed up and I took a swing every day. Mm-hmm. And I put my all into that swing that day. And I didn't expect the tree to fall with the first swing, So having that mindset is key. So let's talk physiologically, the advantages of losing weight at a slower rate.
Right. So we tend to evaluate diet plans or weight loss plans by how fast you can get the weight off. That's the big advertising point, right? You lose 5 to 6 pounds a week, or 30 pounds in 30 days, or whatever it is. And this is such a bait and switch. So most of those, even the most conservative plans, which are saying like, let's just have you losing 2 pounds a week, right? That sounds so small. Like the progress you'd be making would be so small. But what's actually happening there? Even if you're only losing 2 pounds a week, that is faster than most people can lose fat. That's just the biological reality. So if you're losing 2 pounds a week, that means some of that is fat, some of that is water. That's kind of easy come, easy go. And a good portion of that is going to be lean muscle tissue. And that's the last thing you want to be losing. But there's kind of no way to hack your way out of that. That's just the reality of our metabolisms and our physiology. So when people are losing a couple of pounds a week, they may lose 10 pounds in their first month, but maybe only 2 or 3 pounds of that was fat. Okay. And now they've also lowered their metabolism a little bit because they have less lean muscle tissue to be burning those calories. They've affected their, often their appetite hormones will respond to that kind of thing. The problem is if they then regain that weight, they're not going to regain fat and muscle. Mostly they're going to be regaining just fat. So every time you go through that yo-yo cycle, you shift your body composition in the wrong direction. So one of the big insights that we have is that we really want to slow people down and support them so that they can lose weight only as fast as they can lose fat. So we're going to preserve maximum lean muscle tissue, which is about preserving function, right? About being able to do the things that we want to do in our lives. It's about sustaining our metabolism. And then there's the psychological aspect of this, which is that when you are losing weight at that slower pace, you are also using strategies that are the same ones that are going to allow you to maintain that lower weight. So the whole time you are losing weight, you're actually just in training for being somebody who weighs less instead of training to be somebody who's losing weight and then having a big problem to solve when it's all over.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I like that you brought it to that point, because that's usually an area that I see people struggle with a little bit, where I've got another concept that I call the transformation timeline. And the third phase is once we've achieved that big goal and we're now feeling healthy and we have confidence in what we're doing, but it becomes less a weight loss journey. You're the person that has lost weight. You are the person that does weigh less. Now what's going to get me out of bed at 5:30 in the morning to work out and to be healthy? So I like the fact that the mindset is, like, it seems like you're prepping people for that moment during the whole first part of the journey. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, actually, we like to say there is no finish line for this particular event. But the good news is it's not, it's a very livable approach. And so you're not as eager to get to the end. But we try to discourage people from thinking in terms of, reaching their goal weight, because that implies an end to, the effort and the approach. We really just want to get to the point where we're comfortable in our bodies with the way they look and they feel and they function. And we're very comfortable with the lifestyle and the habits that it takes to sustain that. That's when we feel like people have reached their ideal weight. It's not really about the number on the scale. It's about your level of comfort and confidence, your ability to do the things that you want to do, to feel good in your skin, but also to feel good in the habits that are keeping you there.
So what are some of those like trademark habits that you see? So somebody that goes through your program, they're seeing a lot of success. Where are the trends as far as common habits that as far as their mindset, their action, the way they approach everything that you're teaching them? Any commonality there that you're picking up on?
I think one of the biggest shifts that people embrace in this is getting out of that thing where we decide, okay, today is shot, I'll start over tomorrow. Or, okay, went a little off the rails on Friday, I'll start Monday morning or January 1st or whatever it is. And that, that's what we call the illusion of the blank slate, like I'm going to start fresh. And nothing that's happened will count anymore. And then I'm going to stay on track and be on target. And the problem is the minute that blank slate, that clean slate gets the tiniest little smudge, we feel like, oh, that's it, and I'll just throw in the towel here and I'll start again tomorrow, next week, next year, next season, whatever it is. And that time in which we are going to live according to our values just keeps getting pushed off into the future. So one of the things that we really work on and that I think people find very transformative is catching themselves in that moment and thinking, no, actually, I can start again with my very next choice. I can start again this minute, this hour. It can be 9 p.m. and I can get right back on track with the next decision I make, which might be, what? Let me turn off Netflix so I get a good night's sleep tomorrow, so I wake up tomorrow feeling energized, or whatever it is. There's so many ways to make those way less choices. And the key is is in realizing that choice is available to you every moment, and that we have so many of those opportunities throughout every day to make that choice, that it's not even necessary that we get every single one of them right. We got a lot of at bats. We don't have to, we don't have to, hit a home run on every pitch. We just have to keep getting up and swinging.
Exactly. Like my whole mindset of waking up, chopping at that tree, and just being plugged in is something I talk about a lot. And it's just staying in front of the coaches and the communities and the podcasts that we listen to, and just keeping ourselves jacked into that type of information and not going, oh, well, this month's shot, close my eyes, hope for the best.
Yes.
And then you disappear. Or I know a lot of people struggle with vacations, and it's not they blame it on, like, I went on vacation and I gain 10 pounds every time I go on vacation. But that's not really the danger zone we're talking about. We're talking about not getting plugged back in for 3 months after the vacation. That's what we talk about. So I feel what you're saying there. Like, people, that's what we do. We talk ourselves into this whole, find the perfect scenario. Then we can start. And we seem like we're a little bit distracted with our focus a lot of times.
That's so funny that you mentioned that about vacations, because just before we got on today to record this, I was writing a blog post about one of our members, one of our Way Less members, who came back from a vacation, and she had really gone into it very mindfully. It was like, okay, they were going to New Orleans, right? So there's a lot of like fun things to enjoy there. And she's like, I really want to come home from this vacation feeling good. I don't want to come home with a bunch of regrets. And so she had a really solid plan about how she was going to fully enjoy that experience and, taste all the things and have all the treats, but in a way that did not pull her off her goals, because she wanted to have both. She wanted to enjoy her vacation, and she didn't want to have a big price to pay afterwards, which is great, right? So she did all the right work. She really kind of thought about, well, where will the challenges be, and what could my strategies be for being able to enjoy that without being able to indulge without overindulging, and how will I build in some of those compensatory habits while I'm on vacation? How can I find some ways to get a little bit more movement in while I'm there, so that doesn't fall by the way? So she aced it, right? She comes home from vacation and she had a great time. She felt fantastic. She got on the scale. She weighed exactly what she weighed the day she left, and she declared victory, right?
Yep.
And then proceeded to completely fall apart. It was like she was all geared up for that mountain that she had to climb. She trained for it. She had a plan. She nailed it. But her planning and her vision for success didn't extend into that reentry back into her sort of regular habits and getting herself reestablished back in her routines. And this is something that we've seen a lot. And I think probably all of us have experienced this in some way, like maybe we've really, I was sharing, last year I decided I really wanted to get ahead in my podcasts because I wanted to have a little bit more of a buffer. And so I planned out a month where I was going to research, write, and record 2 podcasts a week instead of 1 for an entire month to get myself 4 weeks ahead. And I completely executed it, right? And I had it written in my calendar, and I showed up and I chopped at that tree twice a week, and I got those podcasts in the can. So I met my goal. But I didn't really have a good plan for that following month when I was going to get back into my regular 1 podcast a week schedule. And I totally blew my lead, right? I accomplished my goal. I did my triple Salchow, but I did not stick the landing. So over the next 4 weeks, or actually over the next few months, I found myself giving myself a week off, and not showing up and doing my podcast. So after a couple of months, I'd completely blown my lead. So I think that is a typical mindset. And the way we try to help people prepare for that is when they've seen that challenge, whether it's a holiday or a work crunch or a vacation or whatever it is that they know is going to present a challenge, and they're putting together their strategies for how to navigate that successfully, to make sure to include that reentry phase, when they get back to work, when the challenge is over, when the holiday is complete, as part of their planning and their vision for success, so that they don't have that phenomenon that I think all of us have probably experienced.
Yeah. And we get overconfident about it too. And that's, I think, a huge part of the issue. Like right now, here in Indiana, in the Midwest, a lot of schools are getting ready, next couple of weeks, kids get out of school, and parents just assume like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. But just that simple shift of, okay, my kids aren't in school. They are maybe in some sort of daycare program. My schedule changes in the morning. That changes at night. I can't make my morning workout, or maybe
Ah,
my meal prep is different. And we just kind of fly blindly in these types of transition periods that are seemingly very simple. And we tell ourselves, I should be able to handle this. But just taking 30 minutes and just mapping out, like, okay, over the next month, what could really throw me off track here? Is it a busy business season? Am I an accountant and it's tax season?
right.
Just think a little bit of forethought. I feel like that's a missing ingredient for the transformation game plan in general. We just focus on, I'm doing this challenge, I'm doing this hack, I'm doing this program, and that's going to take care of everything, when that just doesn't seem to be a successful mindset. So I love your whole thoughts on looking kind of holistically at everything and then moving forward at a timeline that makes sense for us and for our lifestyle and for our body. I love that.
There's you mentioned planning, and of course, this is such a key for all of us, just in achieving our goals and meeting our objectives. A plan makes all the difference. But there's an interesting aspect to that. One is planning for what we want to happen and trying to set the things into motion, whether it's some scheduling or whatever, meal plans or a grocery list, or whatever we need to put in place to make that plan happen. But the other critical part of planning that a lot of people overlook is planning for failure, is that contingency plan.
Yep.
That we think a little bit about, okay, here's how I'm going to make sure that everything goes right. What happens if something goes wrong? What's my backup plan? How will I handle that and navigate that? And I think a big part of doing that sort of planning for failure is just the acknowledgement that, okay, everything's not going to go according to plan. And it just builds in a little bit of resilience, even just in that fact of acknowledging, like, okay, I got my plans, and 80% of them will probably, work out and 20 won't. And to not let that rock me, to have a backup plan, but also just to say, like, yeah, and if everything doesn't go according to plan, that doesn't mean I've failed. That just means I'm a human living in a human life with a lot of complications. And I think that can help us not get so easily thrown off of our trajectories when things don't go according to plan. Just to remind ourselves that they probably will at some point depart from the plan, and that's not an emergency.
Yeah, and it comes back to that whole, with your app, with getting our GPA and focusing on the trend and not pass fail each day, each circumstance. Oh, I totally blew it on vacation and now I'm going to beat myself up about it. That doesn't need to happen. We need to think a little bit bigger picture and look over the situation in a different way versus, I'm going to beat myself up for a few weeks. And that just spirals us down into the whole cycle that we try to avoid of the weight loss, regain, back and forth. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to pick your brain on a situation as the Nutrition Diva. A situation I see pop up a lot is the dynamic between, two people that are married, dating, living together. One of them is on board. They're like, I'm getting healthy. I'm eating healthy. I'm doing my thing. And the other one isn't quite there yet. And they are back and forth. And the one that's getting healthy is like, I need my husband, my wife, my partner, my spouse to support me, to be my accountability partner. And there's a lot of back and forth going on there. So I love to take experts like you and kind of pick your brain around this situation, because I know that it comes up for a lot of people.
That is a really tricky one. I think that when we have environments that support us, it makes life a lot easier, right? If we're, we work with a lot of women who have kids at home who are old enough to be, the teenagers and stuff like that. And she's like, I'm trying to get the junk out of the house because I don't want to have it calling to me from the cupboard at 9 p.m. and my kids are bringing it in. And, I don't feel like I can deprive them. They don't have a problem with it. It's my problem. So should they pay the price for that? And being able to control our environment is a big part of it. Just reduces the amount of energy that it takes for us to carry out our plans. If we can control our environment and keep temptations to a minimum, so that we're not constantly exercising that willpower muscle. So when you're sharing a space, whether it's your home or your office, kitchen, or whatever, your conference room, with people who have a different agenda, that can be a lot more challenging than having everybody on the same page. And I'm not sure that there's, one solution for everybody. I think that it's very difficult to drag people somewhere that they're not ready to go. And
Yep.
so I don't think that partners who are not on the same page appreciate being, lobbied and harangued. I think we have to ask them for our support and tell them what we would find supportive, but, keep it about us. Look, it would really be easier for me if I didn't have this in the house. Could you make that compromise with me just to help me, stick to my goals? Or, what can we find here? Sometimes, it's about keeping foods that we would just as soon not be encountering every time we open the cupboard in a separate cupboard, and not have them kind of distributed all over. What works for a lot of families is to designate certain parts of the house kind of a non-snacking zone. Like, look, if you want a snack, take it into the den or the kitchen, whatever, keep it in the kitchen, but let's leave the TV room, the living room, let's make this a snack-free zone so that I know that I can come in here and spend time and not be confronted with, the endless snack. So there's a lot of different ways that you can negotiate that. It depends on how, what your relationship is to the people that you're negotiating with. But I hear it just as much about offices as I do about homes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And we're both fans of Gretchen Rubin, and she talks about the hashtag evil donut bringer, that person that brings the donuts every week. And it seems like my clients tend to always sit right next to the donut area, that zone. So any tips around the workplace? Cause I always tell them, like, this is like, you can talk to your HR people about this, like if you're trying to get healthy, that's a good thing. Like, this is a good thing that people should support in the workplace. So any tips around the workplace environment?
Well, you can certainly try to find your allies, other people who may have similar goals that want to kind of band together. A lot of people do these healthy lunch clubs now where they take turns bringing lunch for a small group of people. So you get a healthy lunch every day, but you only have to make it once a week.
Nice.
But you make it for your buddies. And those sorts of things can be very contagious, where you may not be able to keep the donuts completely out of the meeting room, but you have a growing group of people that are like, you know what, we brought this some fruit or some vegetables, to share. Why don't you guys keep that down at your end of the table, and we'll keep this at our end of the table. And it can be there is some strength in numbers, and often it only takes one person to suggest, like, what would be great is if we had some alternative, or we could agree. And other people are so relieved to have someone else kind of take up that charge, and will quickly kind of get on the bandwagon. So if you are that kind of person, you can be that leader, and be a hero. But ultimately, we do have to take responsibility for our own choices, and we can't control the people around us. We can't make them change their behavior in order to help us meet our goals. And that's something that we have to come to. It's one of those adulting things that we never finish learning, as to how to be our own accountability buddy, how to make the commitments that we make to ourselves as important as most of us find it, to keep our commitments to other people, and have a much easier time breaking our commitments to ourselves. And, that's something that we can strengthen in ourselves, is taking our own needs as seriously as we take the needs of other people, and showing up for ourselves and not just our accountability buddies.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there. I feel like there's, especially parents, like, I know moms that will just do everything and anything for their kids, and go to 29 ballet lessons every single day, and take on all these extra work tasks, and check all the work check boxes, but they will skip, they'll totally put their health on the back burner. And I got to just ask him, like, isn't it worth filling up your cup a little bit? Because isn't everyone else going to benefit from that too? And like, that's so important. But so many people fall victim to exactly what you just said there.
Well, and another thing to consider as parents, when we feel like we are, like we have to sacrifice our needs for our kids, that is part of parenting. But, we're also teaching our kids how to take care of themselves. And I think it can be super empowering to show our children, like, each of us really needs to take responsibility for our own health so that we can, be there for each other. And I just really feel like it can, that children are not going to feel neglected by a parent who takes care of themselves. And hopefully we'll see that as something to, we'll imitate that.
Yeah.
We'll emulate that kind of behavior, and it can be really an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral.
Yep. Yep. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I know we're starting to navigate towards our final minutes here. I have to ask you this question. I can't not ask you this question with your unique background. So, Monica, if you are going to have somebody over for a nice, healthy dinner and really try to impress them, what are you going to cook to like really be like, you can eat? Let's say it's somebody like it's your cousin that's always like, oh, healthy food, that always tastes terrible. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like that angry cousin. So you're going to invite Angry Joe over and you're going to cook him a nice, healthy dinner and really impress him. But also after, the healthy meal, you're going to sing him a song and really knock his socks off. So combo, A, meal, B, song. What are you going to do?
Well, one thing I won't do is try to serve like healthified versions of comfort food.
Yeah.
You won't find lasagna made with whole wheat noodles or
healthy biscuits and gravy.
Right. I mean, I guess there's a place for that, but I think it's more fun to find like those really exquisite, like really satisfying, really fun, delicious things that you can make that also happen to be healthy on their own merits, instead of trying to hack, the biscuits and the gravy, the fried chicken, the unfried chicken, or whatever. So I have a whole repertoire of things like that. It's a little bit like when somebody has a vegan coming over for dinner and they're like, oh man, I don't cook vegan. It's like, do you make guacamole? Vegan,
Boom. Nailed it.
So there's some stealth health things that I would make. I really enjoy cooking with sort of ethnic cuisine, so Indian food or Moroccan food, anything that includes a lot of spices. And those things are usually things that take a lot of chopping. There's like a million vegetables, and that's the kind of thing that I'm less likely to do for myself or my own household. But if I have somebody coming over for dinner, then I'm more motivated to to spend some more time chopping. So that's an excuse to get out all the knives and cook up a tagine or a Moroccan stew or a beautiful curry or something like that. And that usually, but I'm going to cook white rice under it. I'm not going to, unless I really, I'm craving the brown rice. But yeah, I think that there's a favorite dessert platter that I serve when I really want to impress people, but it's not the death by chocolate kind of thing. Is I will get out a beautiful platter and I will arrange, small little chocolates, dried fruits, nuts, little delicacies. It makes a very beautiful platter. Everybody can just have what they want. And actually, after a big meal, it's a lot more welcome coming to the table than some ooey gooey crazy dessert. But it also looks really elegant and fancy. But in terms of the singing, once I have a lot of food in my stomach, I'm not eager to sing. So if I were going to sing, I would probably get it out of the way right at the beginning.
Okay. That's allowed. That's in the rule book. Okay.
Yeah. And I do have a few like food themed arias for just such occasions. So.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to come over for dinner now. I mean, this is
come on.
This is it's got me very excited. All right. I want to make sure that people can get connected to you and dive more into the Nutrition Diva universe. So what's the best way to do that?
You can find me at my website, nutritionovereasy.com. And from there, you can find links to all of the other things that we are talking about. The Nutrition Diva podcast is right next to your podcast, Adam, on all of the podcast platforms called the Nutrition Diva. If people want to check out the little app that we were talking about that has the 10 questions, that's at nutritiongpa.com. Set that out. And if any of the stuff we were talking about, the way less mindset, losing the dieter's mindset, finding that sustainable path, not to losing weight, but to weighing less. That's the program that I do with Brock Armstrong. And more information about that is at wayless.life.
Excellent. And I will link up all those things in the blog and the show notes. Now, Monica, we've inspired Million Pound Mission Nation here. And now I want to leave them with an action step. I like to just have a nice little dose of homework from you. All right. So let's say that there's somebody out there listening that is just thoroughly confused by all of the information out there. You know, we don't lack for an amount of information in nutrition that, you know, all the different blogs, all the different podcasts. It's information overload. So they know they need to do something, but they just are confused about where to start. So what action step would you give that person as far as along the lines of something that they could do in the next 24 hours?
Depends a little bit about on what they're starting with. I think this takes a little bit of introspection to stop looking out for all of the different information, which can become just sort of an overwhelming universe. Most of us know a little bit more about this than we give ourselves credit for. Most of us have some insight into one thing that we could do that would be moving us in the right direction. For some of us, it might be a soda habit that we know full well is, not in our best interest. For others, it may be leaving the house without having breakfast in the morning, which then dominoes into a series of bad. For some of us, it's the late night snacking, what I call the recreational snacking. Dinner's done, not hungry, but I've developed a habit of when Netflix comes on, out come the fill in the blank, snack. I can't tell what it is for each person, but I really feel like most people know what it is, and it's the big thing. It's the obvious thing. We're running around looking for these tiny little things around the periphery and kind of stumbling over the giant boulder that is directly in front of us. So if you were going to spend 24 hours thinking, or over the next 24 hours thinking, what should I do next? I would suggest, asking yourself, what is the one thing that I already know I could shift that would move me in the right direction, and start with that. And just remember that you don't have to roll that boulder all the way off the path, or to use your analogy from earlier, you don't have to chop down the entire redwood. Could you start by sharpening your axe? Can you,
Yes.
And just go out there and resolve to start taking a swing every day. But I love that. I love that analogy because it's a great one. But yeah, what is that tree that needs to be chopped down in your life, or which one can you start with?
Yep. And it's just like the domino thing that I talk about in the show, everybody. Like, you want to find that first domino that creates the chain reaction. You flick over the first domino and then momentum ensues. And that's the name of the game, my friend. So Monica, thank you so much for investing this time. I know you've got a full plate of places that you can be and things that you can do. And I appreciate you investing time in me and in my audience here at the Million Pound Mission.
It was great to spend this time with you, Adam. Thanks so much for inviting me on the podcast.
All right, everybody, you've been inspired, and now it's time for action. If anything has really resonated with you with what Monica has delivered with us here today, I want you to take action. We are a community of implementers. That is something that I pride myself on. We want to be entertaining. We want to make you laugh a little bit, but you need to take those moments of inspiration and implement. And that, my friends, is how we get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for hanging out for the after party. I hope that you absolutely loved this episode as much as I did. Monica is an amazing resource for health and nutrition tips. And I just love the things like her app and all the things she discussed here with this interview. So make sure you check out all of her info in the show notes and the blog with this episode. Now, I mentioned a couple of times earlier, and I'm going to say it one more time. I'm coming live at you with 2 different workshops, Huntington Beach, California in September, and here in Bloomington, Indiana in October. I would love to get my hands on you, just high five you, give you a big old Adam PhD bear hug, and connect live. I'm bringing in people that are going to be game changers, and the experience with the events will be off the hook. So head on over to millionpoundmission.com, grab a ticket, and I will see you soon.